Hey love, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another bomb live. For those of y'all who are new to my channel, this channel is for people who know the story that we are being told isn't the full story. I cover conservative politics, breaking news, and institutional power. Not to repeat headlines, but to challenge them. I don't chase narratives. I analyze incentives, consequences, and what comes next. Welcome. Okay, guys, we have a really good live stream today. First of all, Happy New Year. Okay, y'all see me going live on New Year's Eve. I said I want to come on here, finish out the year strong. So, with that said, we have some really good topics to touch on today. We are going to talk about the Minnesota fraud scandal that is steadily unfolding. And we are also going to talk about the fact that the United States, yes, the U.S. military has struck Venezuelan soil. So at this point, it has escalated beyond the sea, and we are now bombing Venezuela. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Nick Shirley because we are going to be reacting to a video of his. Nick Shirley is doing the work of the Lord. For those of y'all who don't know who he is a YouTuber. He tends to lean more conservative in his viewpoints. I mean, anybody with common sense these days would, even if you don't necessarily identify as a Republican. And, it was his work that really changed my mind about a lot of things. I remember when during the Biden-Harris administration, when Democrats were trying to gaslight us and pretend that we didn't have an entire open border situation, and when they tried to lie and say that Venezuelan gangs were not taking over full-blown apartment complexes, the Democrats tried to lie about that. They tried to lie and say that illegal immigrants or asylum seekers were not getting all of this government welfare. Nick Shirley determined that was a lie because as some of y'all know, he was actually going on the ground. He was going to these places and interviewing people and getting these immigrants to admit just how much government welfare and assistance that they were getting live in 4K on camera. So there was no denying it. Like there was no denying it. And then of course, Mayor Eric Adams came out and admitted to all of the government assistance and federal assistance that they were getting. So, that really helped to change my mind. And he's doing the work of the Lord, y'all. He literally will put himself in very dangerous situations. He will put himself in very dangerous situations to get the story. Honestly, he is more thorough and braver than majority of these mainstream media investigators, right? And he's genuinely trying to get to the truth. He'll just go live. He won't cherry pick. He'll just go live and roll the camera. I've seen crazy scenarios where like liberals were like literally chasing him, assaulting him. I've seen them try to get the police on him when they were the ones who clearly on camera assaulted him. It's crazy, but we're going to get into it. I don't want to keep talking. Again, if you're just now coming in, please press that like button. Happy New Year. Also, y'all, I'm a small channel, so if you like my content, please consider donating to my channel. That keeps me going. With that said, let's get into it. Now, I just want to forewarn y'all. Let me share my screen. This is gonna piss you off. So I didn't watch this whole video, but I watched enough of it in the beginning to where I was like, how was this allowed for so long? And you cannot convince me that people in the government didn't know about it or they're just now finding out about it. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and mute myself because I don't have my microphone. I don't want y'all to hear an echo. He's going.
What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building. Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota, as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands.
Y'all know what's pissing me off? I remember, was that last year, I saw an American woman get sent to jail because she used her food stamps to buy supplies for her business. And no, that's not right. But meanwhile, you have people who are not even native to this country or from this country able to come here and basically launder money to a foreign country to the tunes of billions of dollars. And literally nothing happened for years. And yes, I know that there have been arrests made, right? I believe there have been 77 arrests at this point. But I can't help but wonder, if Donald Trump wasn't in office, would this have continued?
Of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab and others enrich themselves all at the US taxpayers' expense. And in this video we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these childcare centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online. And
this is where being culturally competent comes into play, because let me inform y'all of my background, because I don't want to sound like I'm speaking on something I don't know or that I'm making generalizations. But if you've been around East Africans, for example, I'm from Dallas. My daughter's dad is Ethiopian, and like the Ethiopian community is kind of like adjacent to the Somali community. Yes, they're very different in some ways culturally, but very similar. So if you've been around these cultures, you would know that they don't send their children to daycare. I'm not saying 100% of them never send their kids to daycare. I'm saying that's not normal for them to send their kids to daycare. I've never been in any daycare center where I'm from. And again, we have a huge Somali population in Dallas. We have a huge Ethiopian population. I have never seen any of them put their children in daycare. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying that's not a cultural norm. So if you know this, that's why you have to vet people. You have to understand, before you let people of all other cultures come into the United States, you have to understand their culture. So if you know this, you would know that that's not anything but fraud being committed if on every corner you see a Somali daycare, because there's not enough of them putting their children in daycare for all of that, for it to warrant billions of dollars. That's why when they're showing up to these daycares, they're empty. Do you know who watches their children while they go to work? An elder woman in the community, or the grandmother, or a woman that's not working. Most of the time, it's the grandmothers, the moms that live with them that watch the kids.
Look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here, we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to childcare. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a childcare not far from here in Minneapolis that has two childcares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever. And I've been by that place at least 100 times.
You know, that's just ridiculous, honestly and truly. It would be different if this was 1995 or something, but this is the year 2025 going on 2026. And the computers should be able to catch if there are duplicate grants being sent to the same address. I mean, I can't even sign up for certain streaming services on the internet if they can see that I have an email address or a phone number for a different account, right? If I have a duplicate account. So how is the government not able to see that you have 2 separate daycares using the same address? It's because they didn't want to see. And a lot of this has to do with our government, liberals buying votes. And that's exactly what it is. When you have a whole community voting for you so that they can continue to commit fraud or continue to receive certain benefits that they are not entitled to, but they know if they vote for you, you're going to continue to make it happen for them, that is bribery. And I don't think the American people should stand for it.
These Somalians, these groups are setting up these daycares, these childcare centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations. And even though they have these violations, they're still in operation and they're still getting money. And it's millions of dollars for every one of them every year.
And who's getting the money? And where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money. So it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people at the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare. So you have adult daycare, and then you have child care, and then you have health care. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation, and a lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that has 14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
And the government knows about this.
The government knows they're writing the checks.
If he knows, they know. And I used to work for a child placing agency that was licensed by the state in Texas. And they will do random pop-ups. They're supposed to. They're supposed to come do random pop-ups. They check all your logs, they check all your files. Anytime you are getting money at that level, you are going to get a visit. So my question is, how come in none of these scenarios where they got these violations, first of all, I want to know what the violations were for, but y'all didn't notice that there weren't children there? Make that make sense. And then if every time they're sending out an employee, a government employee, to go do an audit, and you're going to several of these businesses and you're not seeing any children, that will lead me to believe that at some point, all of the government employees are talking about, hey, we go to all these daycares to check for compliance, and we're giving out these citations and violations, but there are no children here. So nobody noticed there weren't any children. So that leads me to believe this is not new information at all. Everybody knows it. And it could be a situation where a lot of the government employees that were tasked to go do these audits tried to say something, but honestly and truly, if you're in a situation where something is being allowed at the state level and you're reporting it and nothing's happening, or you're reporting it and you're the one getting in trouble, then you just either quit or learn to go with the program, get with the program. And you see what it is and you just get with the program, collect your paycheck, and go home.
Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks. What has happened is that the Somali community is a very closed community. They will not speak to anyone outside the community and talk about what's going on within the community. They vote as a block. And so when you're a politician, you're saying, look, I've got 100,000 people in Minnesota that if I do something for the community, they're going to vote for me. And that's what it's all about, is getting the votes. And then the people here in Minnesota, you hear this term, Minnesota nice. I'm so sick of that term. The people here are so afraid of being called a racist or an Islamophobe. And they're afraid of their own shadow. And I don't understand. This is our future generations are going to have to pay for all this.
You know, this is why, as a minority, I speak up about this kind of stuff every chance that I get. Because I meet so many of these white liberals who walk around with this white guilt and white shame, and they allowed everybody to shut the conversation down because they're afraid that they're going to get called a racist. And at this point, I feel like people need to have the attitude of call it what you want to. Nobody's going to shut me down. I remember there had been several times where I have had a conservative viewpoint on many topics, and people will begin to call me names. Oh, you're a transphobe, you're this. Call it whatever you want to call it. I do not care. Once you stop caring about being called a name, people can no longer shut the conversation down. I think a lot of the problem, though, is that people have been able to cancel you, right? People have been able to call your job. It has been able to affect people's livelihood and employment. But I think that we are turning that page, and it's now or never. So these white liberal Minnesotans who are scared to be called a racist, well, you're doing that. You're in fear at the expense of the future of yourself and your children, because the treasury is being looted over there. Looted and money laundered to a whole nother country. There's nothing wrong with being nice. You can be nice without letting people take advantage of you. And if an American were committing frauds at this level, nobody would have a problem calling them out. Y'all see all the Americans who have gone to jail for the PPP fraud on this channel. Y'all know me. My mom is African American. I have talked about the PPP fraud that has happened in my own community at the hands of Americans. So I will be damned if anybody is going to tell me that I can't speak up when another group of people is doing it, when I'm willing to call my own out. So I'm not going to placate to your feelings just because you're an immigrant and you can pull the race card when you don't want to be held accountable. It's not happening. Guys, if you're just now coming in, please hit the like button.
Fraud, and they just want to bury their heads in the sand and go on and just not worry about it. Tim Walz saying there's organized crime in Minnesota. What did he do about it? Nothing. You got organized crime? What are you doing? This is the Minnesota law, which mandates that anyone who knows of fraud and is a state employee must report that fraud.
I can tell you what Tim Walz is doing. He's collecting votes. He's collecting votes and perhaps kickback. But best believe he knew about this.
It's Minnesota Statute 3.971, Subdivision 9. Not only that, but Walz is also guilty of misconduct of a public employee. When I look at the world as a whole and I look at fraud, the Twin Cities is ground zero. The fraud is worse here than anywhere else ever in history, anywhere.
We're going to go confront these people. We're going to go to these daycare centers. We're going to see what's actually happening.
Okay, so we have to be careful because these people are very violent. They're exceptionally violent.
Now, with all of David's evidence, we headed out to the streets of Minneapolis to see how much fraud we could uncover in one afternoon. Where are we going now?
We're going to a place called Mako Child Care, which actually has another child care registered at the same address called Mini Child Care Center.
So we should see lots of children if there's this child care center, especially if there's two.
The two of them combined are licensed for 120.
And how much money have these child care centers received?
None of those vans had moved in 6 months. None of them. In 2020, one of them received $1.3 million. In 2021, they got $987,000. In 2022, they got $714,000. That's the last I have for that one. And then the other one, $1.604 million in fiscal year 2025. Fiscal year 2024, they got about $800,000, and in fiscal year 2023, they got $904,059.
Y'all, they are collecting millions. And you know what pisses me off now? I certainly have my criticisms of the African American community from which I grew up in, right? But you know what pisses me off is when I hear a lot of these immigrants from other communities like African culture talk about how Black Americans are lazy, or just Americans are lazy in general. And it's like, how dare you? When you come over here and you commit fraud, and that's not me saying that all of them are doing that, but it's a problem enough for us to know, like, I have to be careful on YouTube, but like there are certain demographics in Dallas of people that we know that scam. They scam. They do a lot of fraud. And even they will say they scam and they do a lot of fraud. So it's like these people come over here and they know how to game our system more than an American does. It's not that there aren't Americans doing it. It's just that Americans, I feel like Americans are more afraid to go to jail, and we don't do our research on that kind of stuff. These people will come over here getting good with politicians, vote in a voting block. Like they understand that there's powers in numbers. And for example, they have Ilhan Omar, people like Ilhan Omar, they will put in position to help pass laws, and then they'll know that law inside and out. And these type of people will teach them how to game the system. So it always kind of irritates me when certain demographics of people talk about how lazy Americans are. And it's like, yeah, but you're like, of course, you're going to be financially ahead of Americans if you're coming over here and committing this level of fraud. And that's not to say that all immigrants are participating in this type of behavior. But in the case like with what's going on in Minnesota, over 80% of the Somali community is on welfare. And if you know anything about Somalians or just Africans in general, they are not lazy people. Trust and believe that if a Somali person is collecting food stamps, they are making money. They're not just sitting up collecting food stamps and not getting any additional money. They're not just sitting up unemployed unless it's a situation where you have a stay-at-home mom or something. They're not lazy people. I'll give that to them. But people a lot of people that are not Americans like to talk about how lazy Americans are. And then they come over here and live off of the American system, and they figure out how to scam the system inside and out.
This place right here. Yes.
We're outside of it.
Well, this is actually 2 daycares are registered here. One of them is Mako, which you see on this sign. The other one is Mini Child Care Center. And between the two of these child care centers, they're pulling in about $3 million a year. And there are no children. Every facility that you go to, the windows will be blocked out so you can't see in. There's nobody here. You won't see a single child at any of these facilities.
There are indeed no windows. All the windows are blacked out right here. All right, let's go in.
No.
And the child care center is locked. Should we ring the doorbell? Try to get in, ring the doorbell. Nobody showed up. They're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. It says here on their sign, yet there's absolutely nobody here. And this building here, right here, has generated.
Those hours don't even sound right. I've never heard of a daycare open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. First of all, why would you open your daycare at 7 p.m. when people have to go to work? So most daycare facilities open at like 6 o'clock, 7 p.m. That doesn't make sense. And then to be open until most daycare facilities open at 6 a.m. And then to be open all the way until 10, I'm not saying it's not possible. I've never seen a daycare stay open that late, especially during the weekday. I don't know, y'all tell me. But he's going there during working hours, during the daytime, and there's nobody there. And let me be clear, childcare has been a hustle. I've seen it even here from American citizens in Texas. The difference is, when I've seen American citizens run childcare scams and hustle, they at least have children. Like they're at least actually operating their agencies or daycares, right? But there has been that is one of the most common frauds that people commit is through childcare.
Millions of dollars, and it seems like business isn't even open right now, and it's a weekday. And if this was a daycare center, it wouldn't just be in some industrialized building. There would be maybe like a playground or something outside. Or
there's no play area for the kids. So where are the kids? Where's anybody? How can there be nobody here? And it's like this every single day. I've never seen a single child here. In 9 years, I've never seen a single child at this building. Right there.
Oh, then now it looks like we already got the Somalis coming through.
Yeah, they're coming. The word's out.
Hello, is this your daycare?
No. Could you tell us why there are no children? Have you ever seen children at this child care center?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Doesn't know if she's ever seen a child here. All right, let's go to the next location.
And the fraud only gets more from here.
People who forget names seconds after hearing them, it's not ADHD, it's an untrained brain.
Here, make sure you stay till the very end of this video to see exactly how much fraud we find by the time we are done. And before we go to the next location, I want to show you something super interesting about the flags of Minnesota.
And here in Minnesota, if you take a look at the Minnesota state flag, they recently changed it, and it very much so resembles the flag of Somalia. And really quick, I want to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, Opus Clip. What used to just be in
Y'all, that is so disrespectful. And what I'm trying to understand is, I'm sorry, the people of Minnesota, y'all are weak. Like, y'all don't have any, like, cojones. Like, what's going on? How do you allow this? How do you allow this to happen? How do you have, I've heard the term, how do you have so much suicidal empathy that you allow a foreign demographic of people to take over your state so much so that they have enough voting power to change your state flag to resemble the flag of their country? Minnesotans, what's really going on? Because I'm from Texas and we would never. We absolutely not. Not in this life or the next. And we have a huge demographic of Latinos in Texas. We have a huge demographic of Mexicans in Texas. Never, not ever, will we allow them to come over here and do that. It's a certain level of respect that's maintained. So I'm not understanding. You have some places like where I'm from in Dallas, I believe Hispanic people, they're either right at 50% or the majority of the population in the city. And still, this would never happen. Absolutely not.
Back into the video. Now we're going to the next daycare center. How much money has this one generated?
This one in fiscal year 2025, $1,042,059. In fiscal year 2024, $1,059,078. And in fiscal year 2023, $727,336.
This next one is literally one block away, and this one's also generated nearly $3 million in the past 3 years. Let's see if there's any children. Let's see if any of the buildings are open.
Y'all, we in the wrong business. I'm in the wrong business. I'm not living right.
Here we go. All right, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center. All the windows are blacked out. Let's see if anybody is here. This door is locked.
This facility is licensed for 40 children. 0 children. I've come by this place 100 times. I've never seen a child here, ever. The only thing I've ever seen is someone standing outside smoking.
What's crazy about this is that last daycare center is that green building right there. And the other daycare center right now is right here. These buildings should be operating as they're receiving literally millions of dollars. I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door. Hello? Can we speak? Yeah. I would like to check a child in the daycare. Why? Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare. And after a few questions, the lady went silent. Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here. And now where are we going?
Okay, so there are obviously no children. But like, let's set up a hypothetical situation in which there are children. If this man is coming and he is trying to enroll his child in daycare, why would you not? First of all, you're a business. You're supposed to want to enroll children into your daycare. That's how you keep going. That's how you keep your funding. And then if it's a situation where you're only accepting Somali children, well, now this is discrimination. You can't discriminate while you're receiving federal and state funds. It's against the law, period. But while you're receiving federal and state funds, you definitely shouldn't be able to discriminate. But there are clearly no children. What's up? Somalia is the land of pirates. America should have expected this. Oh, yeah. I mean, they've been pirating for centuries. And that's not like, I hope I don't get in trouble or y'all think that that's a racist take. No, that's literally a part of the culture. And it's not just a part of their culture. I mean, I don't know if y'all remember, if you know anything about U.S. history, the Barbary Wars, where the United States, like when we were a very young country, had to just basically go over there and take all them pirates out. So, you know, this is something that we have been dealing with from a certain demographic of people, from a certain religious background for centuries at this point. You know, and it used to be, here's the thing, it used to be that before the United States came along and began the Barbary Wars, other countries advised the United States, hey, just pay them, you know, they're going to ask for like tribute or some type of toll, just pay them to keep them off your back. And we were like, what? No, absolutely not. So it's crazy to see that in 2026, they are literally over here on U.S. soil looting.
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Childcare.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which shows its license for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and they're all.
Question. Annually, it cost over $1 million to care for 70 kids. Because, I mean, I understand there are operating costs, like you have to pay for employees. Childcare employees don't get paid that much. I would be surprised if each employee was making $60,000 or $70,000 a year. So let's start there. And then on top of that, I know they have to pay for food. I know they have to pay for gas, transportation, and lights. But to me, from how I have seen daycares operate, and the cheap, y'all, they will literally go find the cheapest, low grade, canned, low quality food and feed it to these kids. So the math is not mathing on how much federal funding they are receiving annually to me. Or maybe it's just more expensive to operate a daycare in Minnesota. Maybe I'm.
All the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see if anyone opens.
Yeah, let's see.
Once again, I try to find a spot for my son Joey, and they would not open the door. I want to put my son Joey in daycare. Cuz I need a spot to put my son Joey.
Yes.
Is this your daycare center?
No, I work there. What's happened?
I just want to put a child in daycare, but all the daycare centers seem to be closed. No one's opening the doors.
You work here?
I was, yeah. What's happened?
Where are the kids?
Yeah.
It says it's licensed for 74 children. Right here, state of Minnesota. Where are the kids? They
Yeah.
got paid $1.26 million in fiscal year 2025. It says they have a capacity for 74 children.
When? No, when?
Where are the kids? Right here. State of Minnesota website. You work here and you don't know?
I don't know. I was there before. I don't know what's going on.
Y'all, this is the face that you make asking all them questions when you're trying to think of a good lie to CYA. And his lie doesn't even make sense. Oh, first he says, I work there. No, I don't work there. I used to work here. Why are you coming, just casually stopping by your old job like that? If you used to work there and you don't work there anymore, why are you popping? Just lying. Buying time trying to think of a good lie. And like, it's crazy because out of all the daycares they have went to thus far at this point in the video, none of them have been, there has not been a child in sight. We haven't heard any laughter, anything.
Were there any kids when you worked here?
He's there. Kids there. What's
How
happened?
many?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
You worked here. Okay, well, then you're not of any help.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
I'm not my son. No, you're a liar. I'm the owner.
Do you put your kid here in this daycare?
No.
There is one child in there. Yeah, I'd like to know if this is a legit business.
Me, I'm scared of you too. How come I explain everything?
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of your curry.
Because of my color. You said you're scared of me because of my color. Does that
No. Let me tell you what she's really trying to say. First of all, if somebody said that to her, we would be calling them a racist. Like if somebody said to a darker skinned person, an African person, or a Black person to their face, I'm scared of you because of your color, people would be calling them racist and be calling their place of employment and trying to get them fired. So already, that was a very inappropriate statement for her to make. But let me tell you what she really meant by that. When a woman like that sees somebody like Nick Shirley, they associate that with authority. You know you've been had, okay? So now she's associating that with consequences. That's really what's going on here. Okay, they know they've been hacked. They know the jig is up. Okay, so yeah, she is afraid. She is afraid. We used to call this in the Black community. I'm going to put that white man in your life. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's something we do say. And when somebody says, I'm going to put that white man in your life, what we mean is, I'm going to call the police, or I'm going to put you on child support, or I'm going to go to the authorities. That's what that means. And when you tell somebody, I'm going to put that white man in your life, and they're doing wrong, yes, they do feel genuine fear, okay?
Make you a racist.
Yeah, no.
But you said you're scared of me because of my color.
I'm not saying you're racist.
You said you're scared of me because of my color. That makes you a racist. So right now they're all getting mad because he's showing the paperwork of this business being registered as a business. 74 children, no children. He saw one child when the lady opened up the door. So now they're all getting mad.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Ask the owner and the kids.
Well, then why are you talking for the owner if you're telling me to talk to the owner?
I'm sorry. I'm not understand what you're talking about.
Do you have a child here?
No.
Does anybody?
Y'all, now she don't understand. She's speaking real good English, but now she don't understand what he's talking about. Hey, how are you? Welcome. Y'all, if y'all are just now coming in, please hit the like button. We are watching and reacting to Nick Shirley's investigation of the Minnesota fraud being perpetuated by the Somali community and being allowed by Democrat Governor Tim Walz, who could have potentially been our vice president under Kamala Harris. Y'all, this is a shame. Also, guys, I am a small channel, so if you like what you're seeing, you like my reaction, please consider donating to my channel to keep it going. Let's continue.
Where are the 74 kids? Did you lose them? Did you lose these kids? Do I need to call someone? Do I need to issue an Amber Alert for missing children? Are these children missing? It's not my business that children are missing. 74 infants and toddlers, preschool.
The proof's right there. There's no children anywhere.
It's from the state of Minnesota right here.
I think we're moving on to the next location. Have a good day.
Okay, if you weren't here for the beginning of the video, this man that is with Nick Shirley said that he found several citations for these businesses. And for those of y'all who don't know, I used to work for a child placing agency. They were receiving state money. Anything that has to do with children, whether it's daycare or a child placing agency, if you are receiving federal funds and it has to do with children especially, you are going to get audited. So they are going to do random pop-ups on you and they are going to audit your files. These people won't even open the door. They won't even open the door. Not one time did they ask, hey, are you coming from a state agency? Can I see your information? So that leads me to believe that when state employees were coming by, they were behaving in the exact same way. Because again, not one time have these people asked for identification to even consider if they are legally obligated to question them. Furthermore, I know for a fact that you are required to get checked up on. And this is why I believe that the whole government was in on it. Because you mean to tell me every time these federal employees were popping up to these businesses, they weren't able to conduct their audits and investigations? And not one employee noticed none of these businesses have children? And if the state government was not conducting audits, investigations, random pop-ups, then that means they were being negligent. So they also need to be, I'm not saying the employees need to be held accountable. The people at the top who knew that this was going on and allowed it need to be held accountable. Absolutely. right on up to Tim Walz, because you have to be born yesterday if you believe that he did not know that this was going on. Let me tell y'all how tight. Hold on. Denaturalize and send all those individuals back home. Absolutely. We should not have a policy that if we naturalize you, then that is a free-for-all for you to do whatever you want to do in this country once you get those papers. No, boo, you have a motherland that you can go back to. Matter of fact, a well-funded one, because they stole almost the entire GDP of their country. So matter of fact, if you were playing your cards right, you should have a big house to go back to. So I don't feel bad for you. If you were just taking that money, flexing, stunting, buying luxury cars, I don't feel all of these people who committed this fraud or who benefited from it, y'all stole enough money to where y'all could be able to go back to a mansion in Somalia. Point blank, period. So you're not going to get any sympathy this way. Not for me. Absolutely not. Yeah. And here's the thing. Ilhan Omar, one of the guys who was indicted on the fraud charges, Ilhan Omar knew him. She did speaking engagements at his restaurant. That community is so tight-knit. And they talk. Do y'all honestly think that Ilhan Omar did not know about this scheme? And this is a sitting congresswoman. I hope that somebody, I'm not talking about low level, people at the top need to go to jail. And that's one criticism that I have of the Trump administration. Doge exposed all this fraud in USA. Why is nobody in jail? Because if that was an American citizen, they would be in jail. Do y'all know how many Americans that I know have been put in behind bars and behind PPP loan fraud? If that was an American citizen and PPP loan fraud, they would be in jail. If that was an average person committing fraud, they would be in jail. So I need to see some accountability for the people at the top. Absolutely. Yeah, Ilhan Omar is worth 30 million now. How? Oh, allegedly, this is my assumption, kickbacks. Do you think that she was going in there and getting this legislation pushed through and not getting any benefits or kickbacks? Not only that, these alleged fake marriages. This woman has been married several times. That is also, again, as somebody who is from Dallas, I grew up around these communities. Marriage is a hustle. You will have people who will pay $16,000, $20,000 for a marriage visa. So what happens is they'll come over here, get their visa. They might have some children. Once their children get of age and their children are American citizens, hey, I have a friend or my cousin that wants to come over here. Can you marry them? We'll give you $20,000. We'll give you $16,000. We'll buy you a car. So it's the whole scheme. Omar stealing tail. Yeah, they should.
To continue to show the blatant fraud that was taking place here in Minnesota, Somalis started following us around the city. And now we're being followed by the Somalis. This is another daycare center, absolutely no signage, and there's no footprints in the snow of children playing outside. $5 million within the past
5.9 million in 2 years. 5.9 million they received in 2 years. That facility right there.
And now we have a group of Somalis telling us in our vehicle right now. From this daycare center, we headed over to the infamous Quality Learning Center, which actually spells Quality Learning Center on the outside of their sign. That's how blatant this fraud is here at this daycare.
Don't open up!
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They
up.
said they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up.
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up.
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up. We have ice.
And what do you think about this place being licensed for 99 children
Don't open up.
and getting $4 million over
Don't
the
open up. It's ice.
$4 million in the last 2 years?
It's always some raggedy, liberal woman of the lighter complexion defending the BS. Always. The men, let me tell you something. I love everybody. I love everybody. Black, white, brown, Puerto Rican, and A. I love everybody. Men. The men, white males, y'all sisters are wilding out. They are almost single-handedly causing the downfall of this country because they allow people to emotionally manipulate them. They have so much self-hatred that you have this woman out here spreading false information, first of all, saying that it's ice, and also enabling people who are committing a massive fraud on our tax dollars. At this point, it is a mental illness. It honestly and truly is. Y'all need to talk to your sisters, talk to your wives, because it's getting out of hand at this point. Y'all please hit the like button.
Years?
Go away.
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away.
Are you in favor of that?
Go away.
You know
You're
where
not welcome here.
Are you-
Shame on you.
Are you in favor of $1.9
Shame
million
on you. It's
going
ice.
illegally,
Don't open up.
fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning?
Like, does she not have a job? Does she not have anywhere to be? It's always these like 40 and 50-year-old white women out here behaving this way. Do you not have anything to do? Are you committing welfare fraud too, to where you have time to just be standing out somebody's business, shouting like a raging lunatic?
Center, but can't even spell learning right on the door.
Don't open up.
Ma'am, we are not ICE.
I don't care who you are. You don't belong here.
I belong here just like you belong here.
Don't open up. It's ice.
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children in here at this building, but there's no one here. This is a
State of
child daycare
Minnesota
center.
says 99 children. Paid $1.9 million this year in CCAP funding. Do you know where the children are? Were they kidnapped? They run away? Where are the children? This is state of Minnesota. Right here.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley, ma'am.
And who are you with?
Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley on YouTube.
Yeah, so who are you with here?
Oh, he's just been doing some research, investigating.
Y'all, you can't make this up. Do y'all see her reaction? So it's very reasonable for her to ask who they are. My response to that would be, ma'am, you should have asked that at the beginning before you started shouting about ICE and getting yourself involved in a situation that you know absolutely nothing about. Because they could absolutely have been there trying to investigate because kids were in danger. Like, you don't know. So those would have been the questions to ask first. But then all of a sudden, when they start presenting facts, now she looks stupid. She has egg on her face. She don't know what to say. So the only thing she can do is ask, well, who are you? Ma'am, you're more worried about that than the fact that this is a daycare that's supposed to be operating with a certain amount of children and they're not there. So either one or two things are happening. Either the children got kidnapped or they're committing fraud. But y'all remember in my last slide when I was talking about Epstein and I was talking about how the southern border has been used for mass trafficking of children for years now. And the Democrats do not care. They only care about children. These liberals only care about children when they can use it as an emotional talking point. They don't really like children. Let's be clear. The majority of liberals are always encouraging other people not to have children. They're always talking about why they don't want to have children or how they feel like children would be their life. They don't really care about children. Let's be clear. The only time they care about children, it triggers something in them emotionally. But as far as actually doing the right thing to protect kids, they don't care. So when you start telling them, hey, children are like, for example, when we were talking about the missing children at the border, and even Mayor Eric Adams came out and admitted during his term that children went missing. I think he said over 200,000 children that were supposed to be in New York weren't in New York. And the Democrats have nothing to say about it. They're 100% on hush. When you start bringing up that, they stop. Like, they act like they didn't even hear what you said. Do you know what they start bringing up instead? They start bringing up, well, what about the civil assault case that Donald Trump was involved in, the SA case where he settled with the girl at a court? Like, that's what they start bringing up. And though I don't condone that, absolutely, I don't condone that at all. But we weren't there. It was a civil case. It wasn't a criminal case. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent. But like that compared to 500,000 children going missing at the border, it's like it's not even close. It's not even close. And I don't condone any of it. But let's be so for real. These people, look at her. She absolutely is not concerned about what's going on. She's just trying to prove her point. She's trying to make them wrong so that she can feel like she's a good person, like she's one of the good white women.
The fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm with Nick Shirley.
This lady, she's calling us ICE. We're just trying to put law and order back in the streets of the United States. Get rid of all the fraud. Have you ever seen children at that daycare center right there?
Where?
Yeah, it's right there. It says the child, you've never seen daycare.
I haven't seen anybody in here.
We're going to educate you on something. So what do you think about this daycare center? They spelled learning wrong. They've received over $1.9 million this year alone, and they're supposed to have 99 children here.
I don't see it.
Children.
Have you ever seen any children here?
None at all. None.
This year they got 1.9 million. Last year they got 1.5 million of your tax money for 99 children. We just want to know, where are the kids?
Right.
Where are the children?
I don't see them. I've been here since 2017. I haven't seen anybody like
Never
that
seen
here.
a child here.
No, not at all.
And so you've
8
never
years.
seen a child here for 8 years?
Nope, not at all.
And how does that make you feel knowing that this place is receiving $1.9 million?
It's disgusting. I mean, what the hell? They stealing the money. That's a federal grant too. That's, if they get caught for that's a federal offense. I know, I studied law.
And do you think Tim Walz should go to jail for all the fraud that he's enabled here in his state?
That's him doing this? Well, heck yeah. He's got to be held accountable for this.
Y'all, those federal grants, that's a big hustle. I've seen it. I'm gonna tell y'all, I've seen it. There are so many programs. That's another reason why a lot of people think that middle class minorities, and I'm not saying it's just minorities, I'm saying these are the people who I've seen do it. I'm not saying other people don't do it. A lot of people think that, like, we wonder, well, why do middle class minorities, why would they, who aren't on food stamps and welfare, be supporting the Democrats, right? Because struggling. But I know a few who have been under investigation because they were committing fraud. And if you want to commit that level of fraud where you can siphon federal funds, then you have to support Democrats, because they are the ones who were going to vote to fund these programs. So it's a real big hustle.
I mean, there's no rhyme or reason what's going on here. It's simple. It's nothing there. It's a parking lot.
And look, they even spelled learning wrong on their sign for a place that's supposed to be educating children.
That's crazy. I mean, who runs it? Who supposedly runs it?
Somalians.
Oh my God. Oh, where? Yeah, it's just, I've never seen nobody here.
Okay, guys. So, I mean, y'all pretty get the gist of that story. Y'all can tell me what you think about it in the comment section. With that said, I'm going to move on to my next topic. So, y'all know that the tensions have been ratcheting up between the United States and Venezuela, right? Now, for those of y'all who don't know, I am in South America. I've been in South America for a year and a half now. And so far, I've been in Colombia for a year. I've been in Peru for 3 months. And this month, I will have been in Ecuador for 2 months. And then I'm going back to Colombia, right? Not one person, not a single person in any of these countries that I have met has been a supporter of Maduro. As a matter of fact, I had a conversation with somebody who was criticizing Donald Trump in the United States, and they'll like criticize Americans, but then within that same conversation, criticize the United States for not already unaliving Venezuela. So it's like, what is it? People get mad at us and feel like we have a superiority complex and that we're the world's police until they want us to be the world's police. Which one is it? Do you hate Americans and do you feel like we should stay out of your business? Or is it that you're really just upset because of the prosperity that our country has had and you feel like you should be able to use us to your advantage whenever you want to use us? Either way it goes, everybody who I have met has been itching for the United States to do a regime change. Personally, I feel like if this was a situation where it was on the other side of the world, we should stay out of it. Now, Trump is saying that the reason why the tensions are escalating is because of the drug situation. To that, I would say there are worse offenders. Now, it could be that is a part of the problem, but I am apt to believe I'm more prone to believe that it really is over oil. Now, let's be clear, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Venezuela cannot refine its own oil. It never has. They don't have oil, like their oil is very crude and dirty, and they don't have the infrastructure to refine it. So they've always relied on American companies and technology to help them refine their oil. So either way, we were getting a piece of the pie for a very long time. So basically, they have a product that they can't really... They need American companies to help refine their oil. Furthermore, you can say whether this is right or whether it's wrong. What does your car run on? Like, unless you have an electric vehicle, your car is running on gasoline. Y'all complain when oil prices go up, but then you don't like it when our leaders try to create a situation to where your gas is cheap. Now, I don't want to see anything negative happen to the people of Venezuela. I think that a lot of them don't want to be in the situation that they're in. Some of them support the situation. But the average monthly minimum wage in Venezuela is less than $1. That's how bad inflation is. Basically, what happened in Venezuela is they bet their entire economy on oil. They bet their entire economy on oil. And then on top of that, they were giving out so much government welfare to these socialist programs. Like, it was going to last forever. And then the price of oil came crashing down, and now they're in the situation that they're in. If you talk to Colombians will tell you back in the day, like in the 90s, early 2000s, Venezuelans were like the United States of South America. They had the fourth largest economy in the world. But when you don't have a diverse economy and your entire economy is dependent upon oil, and you need American companies to refine that oil, let's be clear, they were not independently refining that oil. And you're overspending, you're overpromising, you're giving to these social welfare programs to gain the support and votes of the people. Well, now you're in a situation where the inflation is out of control. And in every South American country you go to, in every country I have been to, there are an exorbitant amount of Venezuelans. They're working in food delivery. What else are they doing? They're doing food delivery. They're doing Uber. The Venezuelan, shout out to the Venezuelan girls. They do my hair. They do my lashes. I'm not talking bad about it. A lot of the Venezuelan people that I meet down here are cool, but they're not happy with the fact that they had to leave their homes. So majority of the Venezuelans, when you talk to them, they want that man out of this. They tell me all the time, my house, my home is so beautiful. It's so colorful. Venezuela is beautiful. Let's be clear. A lot of the women, if you go to Cartagena, Medellin, a lot of the women who are out there selling the gata, the cat, beautiful Venezuelan women that were teachers in their country, that were business owners in their country. Now they got to go control of Cartagena to make some money. Educated women. So all of these liberals who are, yes, and I understand Trump was supposed to be the anti-war president, and in a lot of ways some ways he has delivered on that. A lot of ways he's not delivered on that. But I say if we're going to get involved in any situation, I'd rather it be over here in our hemisphere because it's affecting us. Venezuela literally emptied out their prisons and let all their criminals up through the southern border. And that's not me saying that every Venezuelan that came through the southern border was a criminal. I'm saying their criminals were in the mix, bad enough to where they were taking over apartment complexes, and then the local government was denying that. Once again, Nick Shirley determined that was a lie. That man is always going on the scene and getting the proof and the evidence. There are a lot of them who would rather go home. They would rather be in there. It's beautiful. It's beautiful down here in many parts of South America. Venezuela was not a poor country. It had the infrastructure. If you meet a lot of Venezuelans down here in South America, they know how to speak at least some level of English. They know how to speak more English than the average American knows how to speak Spanish. Highly educated. And can't go home. So I think when this war is over with, it's going to be an opportunity for investment for many American businesses. Some people might see that as colonization, but honestly and truly, if it's a situation where you can provide jobs and hot running water and infrastructure to a country that has been decimated, what is wrong with that? If we can get some oil out of the situation, well, if you feel that strongly about it, buy a bike. Because the fact of the matter is, oil is a limited, non-renewable resource. It doesn't come out of thin air. Wow, $1, yeah. Okay, so I am going to pull up this video. This is David Hookstead's channel. He's been covering a lot. One second.
watching from today. We have more details after President Donald Trump bombed Venezuela. That is right. The president of the United States announcing in a radio interview that has since gone mega viral that the United States blew up a massive facility inside Venezuela. We now have more details about what this critical and key target was that the United States military and or the CIA struck as more information is released about the situation. So we're going to get into exactly what we know, how we came to find out about this, which is a little bit of a wild story in and of itself. So I'm going to break it all down. I'm going to lay it all out for you. We're going to piece it together and figure out what the hell is going on after the United States bombed Venezuela. I am still very, very, very sick. I do apologize if my voice sounds off. I'm feeling terrible, but I'm going to keep pushing through to make sure you guys get the news. If you're not going to quit, I'm not going to quit on you. So before we get into it, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free. Cost you guys absolutely nothing at all. Huge, huge, huge boost to the channel. Comment with your thoughts below. What do you think about President Donald Trump bombing a massive target in Venezuela? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that notification bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing. And then right here, Instagram, David_Hookstead, X D Hookstead. That's where you can find me on social media. My DMs are wide open. Now let's get into it. So everyone was kind of enjoying Christmas Eve. Nobody, it felt like we'd come to a lull in the action with Venezuela, a bit of a lull in the show of forces, bit of a lull in just everything that was happening. Then President Donald Trump hopped on a radio interview with a guy by the last name of Costamidas. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, feel free to correct me in the comments, and said that the United States had struck a major target inside Venezuela, wiped it out, hit it hard, and nobody really seemed to notice it at first. And then I got alerted by my fiance, who is a White House correspondent, that it appeared the United States had launched a massive attack on Venezuelan soil inside Venezuela as the pressure on the Maduro regime gets ramped up. We're tightening the screws. We have the embargo or quarantine, whatever you want to call it. We're not letting oil get out. We are making sure that the Maduro regime cannot enrich itself. So I'm going to put this up on the screen for you. Give me a second. This is the audio from that interview. Let me get it up here for you. So let's go ahead and play this right now.
Wrong with them. But every time I knock you out a boat, we save 25,000 American lives. It's very simple. And what's happening is they're having a hard time employment-wise. They can't get anybody. And we just knocked out, I don't know if you read or you saw, they have a big plant or a big facility where they send where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out. So we hit them very hard. But drugs are down over 97%. Can you believe it?
So right here,
we just talked.
My American friends and family, is this true? Do y'all see the people around y'all who do drugs, if you know any? Are they consuming drugs any less? I'm really curious to know. I truly am. Now, again, Trump has to make this, he has to appeal to the emotions, and he has to make this about drugs. And it could be true. I mean, honestly and truly, the rate at which people are being unalived over Fenty and just general drug overdoses is just astounding in the United States. It's basically chemical warfare. And the argument that I've heard from people, a lot of people in South America who are against this type of intervention is that, well, it's not our fault that Americans work a lot and y'all need the cocaine to fuel your drug habits. So basically, they're saying, well, y'all have the demand, we're just supplying it. So if y'all weren't addicts, then we wouldn't be sending y'all drugs. And my whole thing is, well, if we weren't getting drugs from South America, then, Americans would be doing other stimulants. They'd be doing ADHD medicine. They'd be drinking coffee. Coffee is a drug. Shoot, I'm addicted. I'm not even going to hold you. I'm addicted. But here's the thing. It's not anybody's place to say that because our people have a problem with substances, that our government should just allow them to freely flow across the border, especially when the consequences of that kind of economic activity is massive death. Our government shouldn't allow another group of people to be enriched off of the addiction habits and the suffering of the American people. Furthermore, because Venezuela is not the worst offender, I'm going to say this probably more so is over economics, opportunities for investment, and oil. What are your thoughts? Do you believe drugs coming into the U.S. is down 97%? I'm not there to know. That's why I'm asking y'all. And all thanks to Trump, that sounds a bit much to me. 97%. But then again, it could be true. And this is why I say that it could be true. First of all, they closed down the southern border. So if you can't get your drugs in through the southern border through mules, because a lot of the times when they would sneak these drugs across the border, they have people swallowing the drugs. They send people in as mules. They send them on these vans, all of that. So if you got the southern border in check, that's possible. And if you're blowing these boats out of the water, I mean, what other way is there to get them into the United States? Yeah, you might have instances to where people are able to get them on land. Like you might have some instances where people are able to get through border security, or you might have some instances where it's able to be flown in. I think it's down significantly though. I could see it being the case to where over like 60% of the drugs that we're getting in aren't able to be brought through the border. The distribution of drugs and the weaponization of the distribution of drugs is entirely two different things. To the extent they participate in the weaponization process, they're wrong. Okay, I get what you're saying. So like people selling drugs just for the purpose of selling the drugs versus people selling the drugs to intentionally destroy the American public are two different things. Is that what you're trying to say? I agree with your view, yeah. And then people will say, well, this is another argument they make. Will American pharmaceutical companies sell drugs that get people hooked and addicted? First of all, shout out to RFK Jr. Okay, I believe in I don't believe in big pharma. I believe they should be held accountable. I believe that the American people should go up against big pharma. So let's be clear. But there's always these arguments that go like this. Because the house is on fire, you should throw more gasoline on the house. That is the argument that liberals make. So because we have our own problems in our own country, we should allow other people to intensify that situation and throw gasoline on it because it's already happening. That makes absolutely no sense. That's stupid. What we should be trying to focus on is trying to stop the bleeding. Not saying because there's already a problem, then we should allow the continuance and the intensification of the problem. And that we should allow other people to contribute to the problem. Because you can't go over there and do that. It's probably coming in through Canada right now. Yeah. I can imagine though, because they knew, like the Trump administration coming in knew that a lot of the illegal immigrants started coming in through Canada as well during the Biden-Harris administration. I would imagine that they, even on the northern border, they know that would have been seen as a workaround and that they're trying to combat that. 97% is high, but I could see it being a significant amount of drug flow being stopped. Also, the boats that Trump is blowing up was not headed to the U.S. Yeah, but okay. Center Star 9212. You gotta think about it like this. The boats might not have been headed to the United States, but for example, I don't know. See, I'm telling the tea. The United States, there are several islands, right, that are a stopping point before the drugs get shipped to the United States. And there's a particular island, and I don't like to talk about things because, like, I know what I know because I know certain people. But there are particular islands that, because they are islands and there's not a lot of it, border control and enforcement, these countries can literally just stop on a beach, stop on a beach, get the drugs on the beach, and then the people that are handling that on those islands get it to the United States. So the boat didn't have to be headed to the United States for the destination of the product to be the United States, is what I'm saying. Okay, let's continue.
Dad, I don't know if you read or employment-wise, they can't get anybody. And we just talked out, I don't know if you read or you saw, they have a big plant or a big facility where they send where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out. So we hit them very hard.
So there's Trump saying that we hit a facility very hard on Christmas Eve. We do not know yet what the strike package was. Was it bombers rolling down there? Was it F-22s? Was it F-35s? Was it F-18s from the carrier group? We do not know those details at this time. But what we do now know that has been released in new reporting. I'm going to put this up on the screen from the New York Times.
Stop taking meeting notes and let ClickUp AI Note Taker do it for you. It allows you to focus on your meetings.
Said President Trump said in a radio interview that the United States had knocked out a big facility last week as part of his administration's campaign against Venezuela, an apparent reference to an American attack on a drug trafficking site. American officials said that Mr. Trump was referring to a drug facility in Venezuela and that it was eliminated. So we now know, per the New York Times, that the target that was wiped out, annihilated, obliterated, whatever you want to call it, that was hit in the U.S. strike, was indeed a drug manufacturing facility of some kind, according to the U.S. government, according to...
Let me tell y'all something. If it wasn't for drugs, a lot of these countries would not be able to survive. The drugs fills in huge gaps in the economy, and that's why they allow it. So, I mean, this is smart. If he's saying, I'm just going to obliterate your source of funding to get you on up out of here, then eventually, I mean, it's already bad. The inflation there is terrible. The economy they're in a very desperate situation, right? And it seems like all of that money was only flowing to the Maduro situation, the Maduro administration and the higher ups. So, I mean, was it really even benefiting the people anyway? I don't see anything wrong with this. It's like you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And honestly, most of South America wants this. Don't believe the hype that you see on the internet. When you come out here to South America and you talk to people on the streets, they want Maduro out of power. A lot of it has to do with the Venezuelans. They want to be able to go home. And these host countries that are having to deal with this influx of refugees and displaced people and people seeking asylum due to economic reasons, they honestly don't want them here. You know, this is why I say Americans have every right. We have the highest population. We accept the highest population of immigration annually. So I don't like no other country or nobody from any other country where your country doesn't even accept a quarter of the legal immigrants that the United States does have any right to call us racist. Period. Because just the legal immigration that we accept is more than any country in the entire world. So it's like the nerve of you The nerve of you to speak on our country's immigration policies when, like, for example, when people start feeling just a little bit of legal immigration, like what happened in Mexico, they want to riot over legal immigration. So nobody's gonna ever make me feel like America is a racist country. And anytime somebody tries to say that down here, I run them the numbers on how much immigration the United States accepts versus how much their country accepts, and it doesn't even come close. Peru just expelled a lot of Venezuelans. And I'm in Ecuador right now. Last week, Ecuador closed their borders because they were like, they heavily armed their borders because they're like, y'all can't come over here. So a lot of people from these same countries where they're not having all that will be in America talking shit about the United States and our immigration policies. Meanwhile, in South America, people want Maduro out of power because they don't like the fact that their countries are being overwhelmed with Venezuela's population, and now they're having to compete for jobs. Does that sound familiar? I wonder where I've heard this story before. So they understand it when it's happening in their country. But when it comes to the United States, just because we have more money, power, status, and wealth than them, they think that they are entitled to come do it to us. And here's the thing, I have no problem with legal immigration. And as I explained to people, because they're like, well, it's so hard to legally immigrate to the United States. Yes, because everybody and their mama wants to come. It's easier to immigrate to your country because, again, y'all don't have even a quarter of the immigration that the United States allows every year. Y'all governments be happy to get immigrants or people coming and visiting to spend some money. The United States doesn't necessarily need all that. And there are no shortage of people who want to immigrate to the United States. So yes, you have to set the bar for entry high, or you would just be allowing everybody in. And it would cause the same problems in our country that you are trying to prevent in your country. They understand it very, very well when it's happening to them. I promise you they do. Do you think if Venezuela didn't have the largest oil reserves in the world that America would give a damn about them people? No, absolutely not. I was saying that at the beginning of this live. Well, not the beginning of this live, but when I first started talking about it, Central Star. No, absolutely not. The argument that I'm making here, well, first of all, my argument is this. Venezuela has, the oil that it has, it doesn't have the infrastructure. It has very dirty, crude oil. So they've always used American companies to refine the oil. So they can't refine that oil by themselves. They rely on the assistance of other countries to help them refine that oil. The United States, again, Americans like to complain about the price of oil. But then when politicians try to put more oil, get more oil on the market for us, then we want to complain. And my whole thing is, unless you drive a bike or an electric car or whatever the case may be, then you have to understand that oil is a non-renewable resource and it has to come from somewhere. Now, when there were friendlier administrations, we can go in there and do business. This is not a friendly administration. No. Do I think that Donald Trump cares about the people of Venezuela? No. But it's to the point where it affects us, though. Y'all saw what happened during the Biden-Harris administration, where Venezuelan immigrants overwhelmed our border. You had Venezuelan gangs taking over whole apartment complexes. And that's not just something that they were doing in the United States. They were doing it in Colombia. They were doing it in Peru. And it wasn't all the Venezuelans, but it was enough to where it was a problem. So it benefits us to try to stabilize that region. But why shouldn't we get something out of it? Why should we do that for free? Why shouldn't we, like, y'all got to think about it in these terms. Why should we do that for free? If the United States is able to get Maduro out of power and bring U.S. investment into Venezuela to where Venezuelans could go back to their homes, a lot of them get jobs, working for American companies, American businesses. Some people might not like that. Y'all say it's colonization. Anything is better than making less than $1 US a month at this point. Why should we not benefit from that? Because not only would the Venezuelan people benefit from that, Colombia is going to benefit from it. Peru is going to benefit from it. Every country in Latin America that is having to deal with a huge influx of Venezuelan migrants is going to benefit. Their economies are going to benefit from it. The availability of jobs will be more abundant. Why shouldn't we get something out of the deal? Why does that make us wrong? I'm not saying that's what you're saying, because that's not what you said. I'm just kind of addressing some of the sentiments that I've been seeing going around in certain spaces. People are under the impression that that type of aid doesn't require resources, that it doesn't require the loss of American lives, that it doesn't require the spending of American tax dollars. It's absolutely an investment. Why do people think that we should go help other countries for free when if we were on fire, they would not piss on us? That's what I want to know.
What President Trump has said. Now, President Trump has made it clear time and time again that he would not hesitate to go in on land and hit the enemy wherever they might be. So now President Trump is on the record saying, yes, we wiped out this facility. The New York Times is now on the record saying that it was a drug trafficking site. And let's continue here. American officials said Trump was referring to a drug facility in Venezuela that was eliminated, but provided no details. Military officials said they have no information to share, and the CIA declined to comment. The White House declined to comment. Mr. Trump made his comments on Friday during an interview with John Castiglione, a Republican billionaire in support of the president who owns the WABC radio station in New York. The two men were discussing the U.S. military campaign to disrupt drug trafficking from Latin America by striking boats suspected of carrying narcotics. So that is what the New York Times is saying is officials, and I'm going to tell you guys how this works behind the scenes. What will happen is you will have people talk on what is called background. This is well known in the reporting game. What they do, U.S. officials, White House officials will call up reporters and they'll be like, you can't attribute this publicly, but here's what we did. And then at the same time, sorry guys, my throat and chest are killing me. I'm trying to get through it. At the same time, you will have the White House, CIA, Department of War publicly not acknowledge it. And then they'll get on the phone privately and call reporters and tell them whatever they think might have happened. So that's how that game is played, and that is exactly what is happening here. So here's what we know for sure. We know we bombed Venezuela and we wiped out a facility. We do not know if we used aircraft to bomb them, jets, planes, drones, or if a ground element went in and bombed them that way. Because keep in mind, the New York Times also reported the other day that Delta Force, America's Tier 1 premier counterterrorism unit, is also being spun up to go into Venezuela. Now, there is some footage that is circulating of a large explosion in the industrial zone of San Francisco municipality, Zulia State, in the morning of December 24th. So I want to be clear here. We do not know for sure if this is the footage of the explosion, but this is going viral.
Cerquitica de NASA. Si no logran apagar esa verga rápido.
You can see a massive fireball. You can see a huge explosion. This is the footage that is all over the internet that possibly I say possibly because we do not know for sure, could be footage of the explosion carried out by the United States military. All right. So that is, the situation's crazy. I mean, we bombed Venezuela and we all found out about it because Trump just said it in a radio interview. And then there were no real follow-up questions that were.
Like, that's so Donald Trump to just drop a bomb, no pun intended, on us like that on a radio interview. And like, what kind of interviewer doesn't ask any follow-up questions?
Feels like there's some follow-up questions that you probably will want to ask if the president of the United States just says we bombed Venezuela after months of military buildup, flying fighter jets to the coast, flying bombers to the coast. Feels like, hey, can we get a follow-up? Like, what the hell are we doing here? Now we find out that it is a major drug trafficking site that has been blown up by the United States military, again, and or the CIA. So we are now, it is officially on. It is officially on in Venezuela. We have struck them. We bombed them. We blew up their facility. We blew up their drug facility. And the ball is now rolling. We are not going to stop. You will see the actions by the Trump administration continue. We will find more targets to blow up. That's a guarantee you can take to the bank. But that is where we are at as of me filming this on December 29th. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about President Donald Trump bombing Venezuela? Do you think it is a good idea? Do you think it is a positive step forward? Let me know in the comments below. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free. Cost you guys nothing at all. Huge, huge, huge boost to the channel. Hit that bell. All notifications.
Let me say this. The only problem that I do have with this is that it absolutely is the right of the United States Congress, it's a part of their enumerated powers, that they should declare war, right? They are the only people who have the right to declare war. This is not, Trump does not have an official declaration of war from Congress. He's doing all of this unilaterally. With that said, publicly, a lot of Congress members are going to say that they don't support this move. But privately in the background, they are going to be trading their stocks and making their investments based on what's happening with this, because there's money to be made. And honestly and truly, Congress doesn't like to cast official votes on war. They don't like to go on the record. So though they might publicly condemn this, Donald Trump is doing them a favor, period. But of course, they have to feed into the Trump derangement syndrome. So they're going to act like Maduro is this good guy. They're going to act like these aren't drug boats or drug facilities. And then they're going to use the talking point that this is all about oil, to which I would say, okay, it's about oil. What next? What is the problem? The thing is, most people are emotional. So you can't say, like, you have to try to use an emotional argument with them to justify something like this. You can't just say it's about oil, even though that's in my opinion, that's a completely logical reason to go to war. If it's not a completely logical reason to go to war, then I want people to, like, anything that you use oil for in your day-to-day life, I want you to give it up. See, a lot of Americans hate Americans and they feel like hate America, and they don't like it when we engage in these type of military interventions, but yet they're not willing to give up their standard of living so that this can discontinue. Imagine if Americans had to pay like Americans complain when gasoline, like in Texas, when gasoline gets to like $3.50, we complain. I know in California, y'all have it worse. Imagine if we had to depend on other countries for all of our oil, and our oil was extremely expensive and it could be used as a point of leverage against us. Imagine if Americans had to go through a fuel shortage, which did happen. It did happen during, what was that, during the Reagan administration? That absolutely did happen, right? So like when Americans have to experience the discomfort that comes along with them being weak and overly emotional, they fold very quickly. Are you saying that America should invade Venezuela and take control over their oil? I'm not saying we should. I'm saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying that's what's going to happen. I'm saying that's what's going to happen. And I'm saying as a result of that happening, Americans are going to benefit from it. It's not about what I think should and should not happen, or what is and is not right or wrong. I'm saying some of the same Americans who are complaining about it are not going to have any problems using that same oil to fuel their vehicles. So I'm saying, I'm not making an emotional argument either which way. Now, what I will say is, to me, the more important thing in this situation is that they did, like, Maduro violated the United States. Let's be clear. Again, he emptied out his prisons. This wasn't all the Venezuelans that came through, but you intentionally emptied out your prisons, sent them through the southern border. You were conducting cartel activities in the United States. Citizens of your country took over whole apartment complexes in the United States and collected rent from the citizens, unalived the citizens, broke into their houses. So as a result of this man's actions, American citizens were harmed. And I think there absolutely should be consequences for that. Whether or not I think the United States should invade Venezuela and take over the oil is irrelevant, because that's what's going to happen. And I personally, when I come back, I'll be in the United States a week in March, and then I'll be back for a month in July, and I'm going to have to rent a car. I don't want to pay $5 for a gallon of gas. So I don't want to go to the United States, and because of whatever Trump mismanaging international affairs situation, oil reserve, the business over the oil, I don't want to come back and it be a situation like what happened during the Biden administration, and we were paying dang near $5 for a gallon of gas. I was complaining then. So I'm a realist. I'm a realist. That's all I'm saying. Okay, guys, it's almost 4 o'clock. It's New Year's Eve. Thank everybody for tuning in. I got to get off of here. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you to everybody that comment. Please hit the like button on your way out. And if you're catching the replay, please comment. I do respond to my comments. With that said, y'all have a happy New Year's Eve. I'm wishing everybody a blessed and prosperous year. I hope that you have, if you had a hard 2025, I'm wishing you a better year than what you had last year. If you saw a lot of successes during this year, I'm hoping that you are able to build upon that your family's blessed, and that you're prosperous. And I'll see you next time.